Devastated, confused, heartbroken. So many times in life we get thrown for a curve and don't know how to react.
I can tell you the first time I had sex, how was my marriage going to survive? It's over. I remember standing in front of the judge with my 3-week-old baby, looking at my ex. I saw the look on his face, and it was complete rage.
Welcome to When Life Throws You a Curve and How to Make the Adjustment with your host, Katie Hamilton.
Hey everyone, welcome to When Life Throws You a Curve and How to Make the Adjustment. I'm Katie Hamilton, and today we have a special episode. It's going to be a little bit different. We are doing a Q&A. I've compiled these questions both recently and over really the last couple years. I have an ongoing notebook. It's actually become several notebooks because I'm not that organized, but I have all the notebooks and I've grabbed a few questions. And although I have not talked Mr. Cash Money into officially becoming my co-host, which I'm still working on, because I think you all would just love him, I did talk him into asking me the questions. So he is going to be helping out today, asking me questions. Hopefully he's not going to be throwing me any massive curveballs because, you know, I feel like this is already I have a lot that's going to be coming at you. But I do think it's going to be great because it will help me kind of allow me to expound a little bit on the information I've shared already. And, you know, who knows? I think maybe it will make Cash a little bit more comfortable about interacting with me.
More comfortable.
And, yes, more comfortable. So, you know, we'll gain some ground and hopefully come up with a little segment. I think maybe. In fact, maybe I'll share it at the end of the episode. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how he does asking me these questions.
I think I can handle it.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're about to see what you got, Cash Money.
I have experience being on TV.
That's right. You're a weatherman. That was Joshua Hamilton's dream job if he was not a baseball player. He wanted to be a weatherman. So he would be very jealous of your expertise.
Well, I always wanted to be a pro athlete, so
well,
we could just switch. If only.
If only, you know, we always want what we don't have, I guess.
Exactly.
But he did teach me one valuable lesson during our marriage. This was something that I can genuinely say he taught me himself. I did not know this prior. He gave me this information that I still use today. He taught me to look at the radar. Not just check the weather, but always check the radar. And it was very good advice.
Yeah, radar's, it's not forecasting, it's now casting. It's what's actually happening out there. And so especially when, you know, you said that we could kind of, you know, we don't have to filter ourselves. So when shit hits the fan in weather, I mean, radar is very important.
Yeah. Oh, no, we don't have to filter ourselves.
No, we don't.
I mean, I do feel still like I'm always kind of censoring myself a little bit, but definitely shit we have determined is acceptable. So, you Cash do not ever have to censor yourself.
Really?
You know?
I'm granted. I
I'm
don't know if
giving
you want to do
like
that.
freedom here. See, I'm telling you, it's better than you might think being involved in this capacity.
Well, it's very enticing. And I'm looking forward to it.
Give it some thought. I think you'd find it very, very enjoyable.
All right. Well, you want me to get to asking these questions, see if I can handle it?
Yes, let's dive in. Your interview starts now.
All right, my interview starts now. Here we go. So question number 1. Is there a chance that you made up, or do you think that you could have made up in your mind that you heard from God because you were so upset rather than actually hearing from God when you felt like he told you Josh would play baseball again?
Yeah, I've actually gotten this question a lot. I don't think I've ever answered it. I don't think I've ever answered any of these questions. Honestly, can't even remember which ones I in total even grabbed. But this is a good question, and I feel like it's very reasonable. It's a very reasonable question. Not only have I had people ask me, do I really think I heard from God? But I've also had them ask me, like, how do you know that you heard from God? And for me, it's several reasons. Number one, the first way I knew it was God was because when I was praying to him, and in that prayer, it was really more of a vent session. I was so distraught. I was trying to process everything that was happening. I was really upset because I actually felt, if I'm being like full disclosure, I really felt like I had been tricked. I felt like Josh kind of waited just long enough to get me to date him, to get engaged, to get married, to get pregnant, to buy this house, and then he decides to smoke crack. And then when I found out, or have this relapse that actually, no quotes necessary, it was a full-on relapse. I started learning a whole lot about the past, few years, why he was actually suspended. There was a whole lot more to it than what he initially had shared with me. So while I was, just venting to the Lord about all of this and asking him what to do, I didn't stop talking. I was just praying and talking, and he interrupted me, my thoughts, like a freight train. So number one, he just cut me off. So I knew it wasn't me because I was praying and venting, and I can tell you, God definitely is one man that can handle me. He loves me just as I am, which I'm very thankful for, and he loves me in spite of my venting. But he had to just cut me off, and that was the first way that I knew it was him. The second way, so it wasn't just the context in which he spoke, but it was also the content that he said. He said that Josh was going back to play. He was going to go back and play baseball. It wasn't going to be about baseball. It was going to be about this miracle that God performed in our lives and in Josh's lives, and we were going to share it with the world. By we, I definitely thought he meant Josh would be sharing it, and I would be cheering him on from a distance, because the thought of me speaking on the stage to anyone ever was very horrifying, even though I had done, plays and sang solos and done all manner of performances. Whenever I was on the stage, I was on the stage as a character. I was not on the stage as Katie. So to think that I would have ever gone on the stage, let alone do something like this or whatever, a lot of the stuff that I've done as Katie, that thought would have been horrifying to me. So, and it had to do with baseball, which is also something was not in my world, not in my reality, not something I thought about. So, and he also always speaks to us in a way that we can understand. Sometimes he speaks to me sternly, or interrupts me like he did then. Sometimes if I'm needing comfort, he'll speak to me, almost like a father or like a friend, but he kind of speaks my language. So a lot of times people will say when they talk to the Lord, they can't tell if it's their voice or if it's his voice. And that's pretty common, because God does speak to us in a way that we can understand, and it does sort of sound like us. But that's so that we're able to get, truly get what he's saying. But I definitely knew it was God, or felt very, very, very strongly that it was him. In those moments, I knew for a fact. Once we fast forward this whole tape, 9 months later, I even questioned whether or not I really heard from God, and I thought, surely, miracles were supposed to be happening, and what I was experiencing was so far from anything remotely close to a miracle that obviously I just missed it, and how I don't know why I could think that I heard from God. And then I would come back to, but no, like, you heard from God. And obviously I did, as we, know what's transpired through my life over the last 15 or 20 years. But that's really how I knew it was him. It was how he spoke to me. He interrupted my vent session, my prayer session, like a freight train, and the content of which he spoke, baseball, sharing with the world, miracles that he was going to perform in our lives. None of those things were anything I had ever thought of, let alone had discussed, or I certainly would not have ever wanted to personally share. I thought Josh would be sharing, but I was just so excited that it seemed like things were going to be okay and good, and we had a bright future. So is that clear to you, Cash?
Yeah, I would say that's you made that very clear, and that's good to, I don't know, it's a good feeling, kind of knowing that you're on that level with God. A lot of people don't, they're kind of out in the world and they believe, but they don't really have that kind of experience.
One more thing about hearing God talk. When you're in a relationship with someone, and how we're supposed to be in a relationship with the Lord, if you were married to somebody, or as Cash, who I am discovering, I think he's a pretty good dater. I think he's a pretty good person to date.
Oh, thank you.
He's a relationship man, from the little bit that I know, and I'm bound and determined to dig deep here with him. It's baby steps. God. But, if you're in a relationship with someone, and certainly if you're married to them, it would be weird if you didn't talk to them for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or years. I mean, what kind of relationship is that? And it's really the same thing with the Lord, as he's shown me. Not only do I have to pray, but I have to shut up and listen. And the more I spend time with him, the easier it is to recognize his voice, because we have developed a relationship, and I've gotten to know him, and he's revealed more and more of himself to me. And the Bible says very clearly, it says, if you seek me, search for me with your whole heart, you'll find me. And it also says, he'll show us great and mighty things that we don't know. And he is a man of his word. God is definitely a man of his word. So just spending time with him, it gets easier and easier to recognize his voice. And he really does long to have that relationship with us. He doesn't want to go 3 weeks without hearing from us. He created us for relationships. And we're wired for love and for relationships, both with him and with people. So anyway, that was just a side note. Yeah,
it's good not to... Ghosting is a thing in the dating world. It's probably not a good idea to ghost God.
No, it's not. But we don't. I don't think people think about it in that context. But it's actually
Yeah, it's horribly rude.
And it happened. I did it. I did it for years. I was an actual believer in Christ, and I would be witnessing to people, and I'd be like, "Don't do what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is not right." But But this is what I really believe, and for whatever reason, I justified what I was doing, but I knew it was wrong.
All right.
But, God definitely got my attention.
All right, question 2.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is an interesting one. Hopefully everyone has tuned in to the past few episodes, because they're going to need to know that epic story. So after Josh took your wedding rings while you were sleeping, because he went and he sold them, or he lent them.
He let somebody hold them.
Hold them, yes.
He pawned them basically to a man.
Okay, so he took them while you were sleeping. Mm-hmm. Did you start sleeping with them on after that incident?
So this is something I didn't say last week. I kind of alluded to it, but I don't think I actually said it. So I had woken up so many times in the night looking for him, rolling over and seeing if he was in the bed. I did not wake up. At some point during the night, he came in the room in stealth mode and got those rings off of the nightstand and shimmied back out of the house without waking me up. I can promise you, There was never another night in our entire marriage where Josh left the house or came into the house that I didn't immediately know it. Every time I heard, from there on out, I mean, even as a mom, you're a light sleeper. I was the lightest sleeper. I heard everything, every single thing. I did not always sleep with my rings on, but I hid them for years. I did, or at the very least, it was 2 years. I hid my rings every night. I also said last week I hid his car keys often. You know, I mean, I just did. That's what I did. I felt safer if they were, I mean, I had what I thought were good hiding places, but I found out that boy could find stuff. Oh, gosh. He was very, very, very good at finding things, but he never found my rings again. That was a one and done situation.
That's good.
Yes.
All right.
I can't believe he got in the bedroom though without waking me up, especially with how much I had been up. Maybe I was so exhausted during that first trimester that once I fell asleep, you know, maybe I was out for a good hour or two. I don't know. He made it happen though.
Did it just make you sleep easier going to bed knowing that, you know, they were somewhere else where he couldn't easily find them? So
yes, it got to the point where, which I'm gonna share all of this because it's not to obviously to share his, you know, shortcomings or whatever. I mean, he wrote a book about this, so I'm not like letting the cat out of the bag here or anything. But it was, you know, credit cards and anything of value had to be out of at least, you know, from anything that I could keep from him, but it wasn't because I was trying to keep things from him out of
just a
like
temptation.
To be mean. It was like a safeguard because I loved him and I wanted him to be well, and I couldn't partner with him in helping him hurt himself. But we haven't gotten into all that, but it's coming.
All right, well, this one kind of plays off that a
Okay.
little bit. So that was back then. Let's fast forward to now, 2020.
Okay.
Are you and Josh on good terms?
Oh, goodness. I forgot. Somebody asked me. Actually, I've had a few people ask me this. Okay, I will say present day, I would love to be on good terms with Josh. And in my heart, I'm on good terms with him. Now, that sounds kind of strange. In reality, there are situations that are present day happening that prevent him from kind of being in our world. And if anyone is kind of, you know, kept up with recent situations, they'll know exactly what I'm referring to. But it's probably better that I don't speak about those things specifically. However, I can't say that we're on good terms in reality. You know, like to me, good terms would be good communication, you know, both involved in our kids' activities, just like supporting one another, respecting one another. I will always support him and respect him as a human for sure. Even if it has to be from a distance with a boundary up, because boundaries are very important. And I actually do there is a whole boundary episode coming up, and my oldest daughter, Julia, is going to join me on that one. But I will always love Josh, always, as a person, as the father of my kids. And I loved him the whole time I was married to him also. Not because it was always easy, but because I made a choice to love him. Now the love I have for him is obviously different than when I was married to him, but it's still love, and it's still something that I choose. And you know, I know what the Bible says about love. It believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, and it never fails. And I'm always going to believe the best about him, want the best for him, believe that he can get well and be the best dad, best human, best man possible for himself and for his kids. So, are we on good terms? I mean, maybe not, but I'm praying that we get to that point, because I'm always going to be for him, if that makes sense. And in the meantime, while there is a boundary up, I'm still praying for him. And I would love for anybody out there that feels so compelled to also pray for him, because I'm always going to believe that Josh can get well. I pray he will get well. I believe that God can work miracles. I've seen God work miracles, and it is not out of the realm of possibility, because with God, all things are possible to those who believe. So that's how I feel about that.
All right, good to know. I mean, yeah, I'm sure everyone out there hopes that, he gets to a better place in his life.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I love my daughter so much. And I lost my dad a year and a few months ago from cancer. And I miss my dad every single day. And I would love for my daughters to be able to grow up and have a dad in their lives on a regular basis that, that it is everything that they need him to be. But I can assure you that even if that's not the case, that our God, who is the only perfect parent, he is the perfect father all the time, every time, he will be every single thing my kids need. And he was everything that I needed in my marriage when I wasn't getting what I needed from my husband. He filled in every single gap, and I felt so fulfilled and so loved. This is a little off topic, but I think I might share it. I don't know if I should share it. Maybe next time. It's about, like, if I don't share it today, okay, I won't share it today, but you have to remind me. And this is very important, I think, for women. Just know, if you're not feeling like you're getting what you need from your spouse or from your parent or from your friend, God will be every single thing that you need to make you feel totally fulfilled, because God was my safe place during my marriage. He still is. Like I said earlier, he's definitely the only man that I know can handle me all the time, because if I have to vent, if I have to cry, he can handle it, and he loves me, and I know that he will be everything my kids need right now. And in the off chance their dad isn't able to get well and doesn't make that choice, God's going to be what my kids need. So I trust God enough. They're his kids ultimately anyway. They're on loan to me to raise. But he loves them more than I could ever love them. We are going to revisit that, because it is something that I've never really shared with anyone publicly ever.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll have to hit on it again.
Yeah, we will. So
all right.
Stay tuned for that.
One more question. Well, first, from the fan side of it, like I was saying, I'm sure everyone hopes that Josh is doing great. I know, for the longest time, everyone that grew up in Dallas wanted the Rangers to be good, and Josh was a big part of the Rangers at that time with getting back-to-back World Series.
Gosh, it was so fun. Oh my gosh, it was so fun.
Yeah, and the home run derby, that was epic. I was playing baseball at the time in high school. Josh Hamilton was a huge idol in a lot of our lives. And so, yeah, I'm sure everyone out there hopes that he's certainly getting on the right track. But moving on, because we're on a time crunch.
I don't like this time situation. But you can help me. You're helping me get better with time management, Cash.
Well, as a weatherman, I was only given 3 minutes, and I always thought weather should get a whole lot more. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Josh. Did Josh ever have another job after the job that your dad gave him when he was sweeping out homes and digging ditches and all that stuff? And if so, what was it, and how long did he do it for? Before being reinstated into baseball, of course.
So, I have no idea even when he quit sweeping out the houses. I can tell you it didn't last long. That job did not last long. And I forgot about Josh's other job until I read this question. And he did have another job. Shortly after his relapse, he got a phone call from one of my dad's friends asking him if he wanted to come be a surveyor, a land surveyor. I knew a little bit about surveying because sometimes in real estate, we would have to get surveys of lots or tracts of land or whatever. Oh my gosh. While I was grateful that Josh had a job, it was the freaking worst. It was the worst. It was the worst, y'all. He came home every day. He only had the job for 2 weeks. He only made it 2 weeks. But he came home every day with hundreds and hundreds of ticks all over him. And I had the pleasant opportunity to help de-tick him every day when he came home from work. And I mean, those little efforts were everywhere. I was like, I did it, service with a smile. But inside, I was dying. I was like, oh my God.
You poor woman.
I know. It was awful. I was like, how about can you just not come inside and we'll do this out there? I mean, they were in his boots and his shoes. Like, oh my God. Yes, he had a job. I was very grateful that he had that man so graciously extended the offer. But when Josh chose to quit, I did not argue.
Wait, so what was he doing again?
He was land surveying. He was like a surveyor. And so they go out there with like those yellow thing, it's like a little camera, almost looks like a camera.
Yeah, you see him on the side
on
of the
a
road, all the
tripod.
time.
And they're taking beams, measurements. Now, where he was doing the surveying in North Carolina, to get that many ticks every single day, every single night, I have no idea. Oh, but I mean, God, it was not my favorite. So we have learned Josh was not into manual labor, as in the sweeping of the houses and the ditch digging, not so much. He was not handy. And I have now discovered that land surveying didn't sit well with him either, as he only made it 2 weeks. I don't know if it was more the ticks or just the actual fact that it was land surveying. Maybe he just didn't like it, but I didn't even care. He lasted 2 weeks on that one.
So a quick reminder: why isn't Josh handy? Is it because he broke the bed, right? Y'all broke the bed.
Is that how I found out he wasn't handy?
Well, I think you knew that he wasn't handy.
I knew he wasn't handy.
You were telling everybody, it's like, yeah, we know Josh isn't handy because we broke the bed and.
Many beds, Cash. Every bed we owned, we broke many times. But I knew he wasn't handy. And so that's how I knew when I walked in the house and he was trying to take that plasma television off the wall. I was like, oh, hell no. I know what it took to get that TV on the wall. He participated zero in the installation. And I knew the dismantling probably wasn't going to actually happen. But if it did happen, he was going to have to carry it to his drug dealer's house. But I had to get everybody back out there to put the dang thing back up on the wall. Oh, no, he's not handy. Now, our daughter Sierra, she's actually very handy. And she's very girly, but my kids are all pretty well-rounded. They'll like fish and be outdoorsy, but they love fashion and makeup and all this stuff, which I think is good. I think you should be a well-rounded individual. But she has like a tool set, and if I need something fixed in the house, because I don't have a man around and I'm not handy and I'm not trying to be handy, I don't have an interest in that, I have Sierra do it. She is handy. I have no clue where she got it. So
Sierra's the man around the house.
She's a handy woman, womanly.
All right.
She can't be the man. She can't be the man around the house, but she's the handy woman.
All right, that's fair. All right, so looks like we got another question on you and Josh.
Okay.
And
how are we doing on time?
Doing on time. We got about 10 minutes, I would say.
Okay, and this is probably one of the last questions, right?
It is, yeah. We're getting close to the end.
Yeah, nailing it.
All right. Did Josh and you have any follow-up conversations about the baseball thing that God told you after the initial conversation when you first told him? And if so, which one of you, or how was it brought up?
Well, I guess eventually we did, but it was years later. Once I blurted that out, knowing, like I had found out he had smoked crack, it was just 48 hours prior. Because that little crack binge lasted about 2 days. And when I found out it was crack, I was pretty mortified because I didn't know anyone that had smoked crack ever. I knew people that had tried cocaine recreationally, and if you didn't know that they had tried it, you wouldn't know that they had tried it because they had jobs and it wasn't like a regular thing. I knew for me cocaine was never going to be a thing because there was a girl that did it in front of me once, and I didn't like the energy or like the feeling presence that she brought with her, and so I knew that would never be a thing for me. Heroin, my uncle did heroin, but I didn't know anybody that smoked crack. And so when I found out he smoked crack, I just looked at him and I was like, oh my God. I was like, you're a crackhead? And I just said it. That's just that was like really the only thing I knew about crack. And he ended up telling me later that I really hurt his feelings when I called him a crackhead or suggested that he might be one. And I said, oh, well, I'm so sorry. I really am so sorry. How about you don't smoke crack and I won't hurt your feelings? But knowing that he had just smoked crack, and I didn't put all this together, after hearing from God, I was just so excited that I heard from God. It didn't even really matter what God said, but it was good news. So I just blurted it on out, and Josh just looked at me like, oh my God, this bitch is crazy. And I know I sounded like a lunatic. And after I said it and I saw his reaction, I started kind of realizing why that would seem so just, it was kind of like an ignorant thing to say to him. So after that, I just carried it in my heart. I thought about it often. I'm in no way comparing myself to Mary, Jesus' mom, but in the Bible, when she found out she was having Jesus, it said that she basically kept it to herself. She carried it in her heart. She didn't go and tell everyone. And that was a lesson I learned early in my marriage, just across the board, was to just shut up and pray. And because my mouth would get me in trouble. I had to be very aware of it. And it didn't really matter also what I said to Josh a lot of the time. If he wanted to do what he wanted to do, it didn't matter, and I very easily could make it worse. So I just learned to just shut up and pray. And in this situation, once I realized that it was not received well, I just carried it in my heart. I thought about it often. I was excited about it internally, but he and I did not speak about it. As I said earlier, fast forward 9 months or so down the road, I definitely questioned whether or not, how could I have missed it? Why did I think that I heard from God? But deep down, I knew that I had. But I guess he and I really didn't talk about it until probably, that was in 2005. In 2008, I think, was when we started speaking publicly around the country. And I will share that story later. But we didn't talk about it until we really started actually physically, talking about it together on stages in front of people.
All right. Interesting. So,
but listen, ladies, it is very crucial. I read Power of a Praying Wife, and it was an entry-level book as far as like Christianity maybe, but for a newlywed and a 23-year-old newlywed, it was very profound, and I learned so much, and it was so beneficial. But Shut Up and Pray was one of the best pieces of advice I had ever been given.
All right, so we're going to take a big turn.
Okay.
Switching gears. In the news, we did this sometimes, switching gears. We're now going to talk about this.
What's your segue? That's it? Did you just give it to me?
Well, that's what I'll give you. If you're lazy about changing the topic in news, and switching gears, we're going to go from talking about puppies to what's going on in the forecast. Yeah, so.
Listen to that voice. Did you guys hear that? That is some stellar work. It's actually Cash's voice in my intro.
Is it? That's me?
That's you.
Oh.
I was very, very surprised and impressed. He's got skills. The boy has skills.
I got some skills. That's good to know. All right, so switching gears. When or will you share your skincare routine? And do you have a favorite product line?
Oh, wow. Okay. I do get asked this a lot. And actually, my skin does not look great right now. I need a facial. I need a facial. I need some PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma.
What is that again? Say that again.
It's called PRP. It's platelet-rich plasma. It's where they take your blood out, they spin it, they get the plasma, and then they can put it really anywhere, but they'll put it in my face, like through like either radio frequency or microneedling, and it just makes your body make its own collagen. And so it's like a natural way to maintain your youth.
Interesting.
It is. It's very interesting. So because I've been asked this so much, and my skincare regimen it's involved. It's changing, and it also depends on how much energy I have on a given night. But I'm going to have my first guest with us in early April. She is my personal esthetician, and she has just been awarded the best for 2020 estheticians in the whole Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I'm going to share my skincare regimen on that episode, and I'm going to have her on, and she and I are going to talk about like her favorite products, my favorite products, her favorite procedure. She's a medical esthetician. My favorite stuff, just all of the things that I know like Cash is dying to hear about. So that is going to be dying to hear about. So that's going to be early April, and I'm so excited to have her on. I haven't had any guests yet. So she is first, and then kind of staying along those lines, but on another level. Dr. Miami, who's like one of the most famous plastic surgeons in America, is going to be on the show also in April, and I cannot wait to talk to him. He is so fascinating. I follow him on Snapchat. If y'all haven't checked him out, check him out. He videos his surgeries. But I've never met him. I've never had the chance to talk to him, so he'll be on in April too. So it's going to be. I have some really, really amazing guests coming up. So, in the midst of, my sharing and all of that, and, maybe Cash eventually becoming my co-host, or at least.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
I'm feeling more comfortable.
I think we're going to have Cash's 2 cents. Little segment.
My 2 cents. Oh, that's pretty clever. Did you come
up
with that?
I cannot take credit for that. Cash only. Cash came up with that. I did come up with that fun little pun though.
Yeah, you did.
My kids would be like, "Oh my God, you're such a mom." That's a mom joke.
It's a mom joke.
I think it's very clever, folks.
It is.
But Cash is very fascinating, and there's just I get asked about dating a lot. As I mentioned earlier, he's a very good dater, and I need some nuggets of wisdom. And I just think it's good to have a guy's perspective. So, anyway, we'll get a little A little bit of cash, at least.
A little bit. Everybody wants a little bit of cash.
Just mix it. Yeah, I think they do. I think they do.
Yeah, not a bad thing to have around. Okay, so bonus question. We're running out of time.
Okay.
A quick bonus question. Have you dated, because we're talking about dating, have you dated, other than Colton, and some people, you might want to look into that if you don't know who
Don't
Colton is.
look into it. Don't. Please don't.
Well, we'll see. And since, the divorce, and would you want to ever get remarried?
Can I just answer like the last part of that?
The remarried part, or?
When I was getting divorced, I thought I would get remarried. I thought I would want to get remarried pretty soon because I knew I still had so much love in my heart to share with someone. I did try to date Julia's birth dad after my divorce, but I found out very quickly I just wasn't ready. And I really wanted my heart to just totally heal. The whole Colton situation, oh God, that is a topic for another day. I will delve into it at some point, but I cannot. I don't have the energy for for that today. We don't have the time. But have I dated? No, I really haven't. Like, no, I have not. I don't know if I'm open to it necessarily. It's not that I'm not. It's just I would be probably a very bad girlfriend right now because I have like this much extra time. And I know that or spare time, I would say. So that time's either going to go to a relationship or it's going to go to me. And right now I'm choosing me. And I'm also finding out that I'm a little set in my ways. I don't know if I want to live in the same house with anyone. I don't know. Like, there's a lot that I'm surprised about and concerned about and curious about, and all these sweet men ask me out on Instagram, like, daily. And I'm very upfront, and I'm like, thank you for the offer. It's so sweet. I'm not dating right now.
How many do you get a day?
I get at least probably there's at least, I don't check my DMs every single day, but I check them every few days, and there's at least 10 or 12 in there, at least.
Do you think it'll go up after this podcast?
Will it go up?
Up after, yeah. Well, that number.
Well, if you think about it, that's like 70 people a week. That's a lot.
Yeah. Going pretty well.
I don't know. I think that it might go down since I'm saying very publicly like I'm not interested. But the thing is that if one of these men sees me somewhere and they think I'm on a date or think that I'm with someone that I'm dating, they get very offended.
Well, people want what they can't have, so this might actually increase that number.
Even though I'm very upfront with it.
Yeah,
I'm not.
A lot of guys don't care about that.
It's not even personal. It's just like I would be a very bad girlfriend because I don't really have time for you.
I know. Some guys want a bad girlfriend.
Dude, and some girls want a bad boy.
Yeah.
I used to be one of those girls. But you know what I tell my children? I was like, you marry character, so choose wisely. Wisely. Julia, on the other hand, her dating game is strong. Is
it now?
Mm-hmm. It is very strong.
So what is Julia? Remind everybody what Julia is.
Julia is my oldest daughter. Her birthday's Saturday. She'll be 19. Tomorrow. Yes, she'll be 19 tomorrow. Oh my gosh, and I'm not going to be there with her. She's on the East Coast. She's modeling. Like, she got booked with signed with a third agency, and she is
a model that does well at dating.
Julia has like the best heart ever. You all are going to see her on the show. I can't wait for her episodes. They'll be on closer to Mother's Day, but she is such a cool chick. Every mom thinks their kids are the coolest. I think all 4 of my kids are the freaking coolest. I'm no exception to that rule.
Julia's pretty cool.
But I do have some like bomb kids. Their hearts are so amazing, and they are beautiful on the outside, but they're just so beautiful on the inside, and that's obviously where it counts. So I was pregnant with Julia while at this point in her life. I was already pregnant with her, and she, I'll let her tell you her stories, but she is very different than her mother in that regard. And I'm so proud of her. So cheers, Julia. Happy birthday, my love.
All right. Well, that does it for all the questions for now, at least.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. So I have, as stated, notebooks of questions, and I love y'all's questions. Like, please keep sending them to me. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them are like so wild. Some are super inappropriate, and some are legitimately good, fascinating questions. So if I ever, just give them all to Cash and let him just choose from the plethora.
Free reign.
Free reign. I better buckle up because it's, y'all keep sending them, please. But yeah, that would be an interesting show. But join me next week. We are going to have pretty normal podcast next week. And then we're going to start having guests and we're going to mix it up. But fingers crossed for a little segment with Cash starting next week. I have high hopes, and I hope you join me. Come find me on social media on Instagram and Twitter at Katie Hamilton 32, on Facebook at Katie Hamilton, and at When Life Throws You a Curve 32, and on YouTube at Katie Hamilton.